Because sometimes you need to let your body rest. Why? Because your body is not your body. It belongs to God. It's His temple, and it's sacred. It's holy. And when you value it and honor it, you are honoring God. And there is another very important thing to take from Matthew chapter 8 here. So Jesus, he's in the boat and he's resting. He's sleeping. Well, then the storm comes. Now, when the storm comes, the winds blow and everyone on the boat is alert. They are freaking out. They are anxious. They are in fear, and they are thinking, oh, this is it. Oh, Lord, this is it. We're about to die. And so they go and wake up Jesus, and they say, basically, Lord, how can you be sleeping? Save us. We're about to drown. And when Mark gave his account of the event, he wrote that they said, Teacher, don't you care if we drown? They were in fear. And look at what Jesus says to them. You of little faith, why are you so afraid? Then Jesus gets up, he rebukes the winds and the waves, and all becomes calm. And those in the boat then said, what kind of a man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him. So we have to understand something here. These stories from the life of Jesus were recorded and written down for a reason. And one thing that God wants to teach us here is that, number one, don't be so busy doing good that you fail to take care of His body. Okay? And number two, when you find yourself in the middle of a storm, rather than being fearful like everyone else is, no, you rest. So powerful. You see, there will be times in your life, situations that will come, storms that would freak most people out. There are situations that you may find yourself in, and most people, if they face that same situation, they would have collapsed in fear. They would be crying. They would be anxious and worried. But not us, because we are kingdom people, and God is preparing us to be more like our King, so that when we find ourselves in the middle of life's storms, our testimony will come through our ability to rest and relax through it. While everyone else is freaking out, God is preparing us to have the type of mentality and disposition to remain calm in the middle of life's storms and to remain rested. And that will be a testimony of your faith. You may be in a health crisis, or in a financial crisis, or in a pandemic crisis. You may find yourself in an economic crisis. Your business may be having trouble. Your relationships could be appearing to fail. And in that moment, someone may come up to you and see you and say, how are you not freaking out right now? How are you not collapsing in fear? And in that day, your answer should simply be, because Jesus is in my boat. You see, when Jesus is in your boat, you can sleep when the storms of life come. When you are in the boat with Jesus, you know this isn't going to kill you. You know this isn't going to destroy God's purpose for you. And so when the winds and waves are clashing against everything around you, you, unlike the world, can rest. Because right there with you is the one who can speak to that storm and say, peace, be still. So friend, I don't know who I'm speaking to. And you know, this message may not even be relevant for you right now, but one day it will be. And so to you I say, remember that Jesus is in your boat. When the storms of life come, don't be like everyone else. Don't fear like the world fears. No, remember who you are, and even more importantly, remember whose you are. And when those storms come, I want you to try this. When you are tempted to fear and get anxious in the middle of life's storms, try this. Stop, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine yourself being in the stern of the boat, laying next to Jesus. And instead of being like the followers who were freaking out and frantic, imagine yourself laying next to Jesus and sleeping right there with him in the middle of the storm. I tell you, it will put you in the right perspective, because you will see that you are not in this boat alone. You are not facing this storm by yourself. You have the King of Kings right there. So go ahead and rest, because when Jesus is in your boat, you have no need to fear. And you know, many would argue that when Jesus got into the boat, he knew a storm would come. He knew how bad it would get. But that still did not stop him from resting and being calm. Why? Well, I think one reason is because Jesus knew that his end would not be from dying in that storm. He knew he had much more work on earth to do. He knew his purpose, and he knew his Father's plan. You see, when you know God's plan, you can rest during these temporary storms. So when the storms of life arise, remember the words of your Father. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Remember those words and rest.